Okay, so this is the little album we're going to make today. There is a better walkthrough at the end, but I just want to show you really quickly what you're getting yourself into. We've got 6 pages in the album and a bunch of pockets. And it's just a quick little thing that you can whip up for a gift. So let's get started with the materials we're going to use. So let's go over the materials we're going to use for this project. So first and foremost, you're going to need some chipboard. I think it's about 2/16 of an inch thick. So you'll only need a couple of small pieces of that, and we'll cut that first. I'll set that aside. You're also going to need some plain cardstock that matches with the pattern paper that you're going to use. So I'm using this green cardstock. This will be to cover the spine and to make the inner pages. You need a couple of pieces of this colored cardstock, and then whatever pattern paper you want. So my inspiration for this book was that I had all these leftover tags, which I often do both from Doodlebug and Simple Stories, does these a lot, and I never know what to do with them all. So I wanted to make a pocket album so I could actually use these in all the pockets and put little photos on them. So that's my inspiration, and as you can see, I do not have a full set of paper, so I'm going to be able to make this little album up with the scraps that I have left over from this kit, which makes me super happy because I love to finish off the kit and then be done with it and get it out of the way. So I still have some stickers left that I can use up, so that's what I'm going to use, but you can use any paper, patterned paper that you like and you have handy. I also had these ribbons that I'll probably decorate throughout, but that's just an extra, and we'll see about that later. And then of course you need your scoreboard, you will need your paper cutter, maybe some pop dots, some foam stickies if you want to pop anything, definitely double-sided tape, and then some glue. And I love this to use as art glitter glue, so I'm not advertising, I'm just sharing what works best for me. I've used this on all my albums for years, nothing's fallen apart yet, so that's what I'm going to be using for this, and I use the dry as clear version of it. Okay, so those are the materials we're going to need. Pretty basic, not a lot of stuff, so let's get started.
Okay, so let's get started, but before I do, I just want to say a word about my approach and how I measure. So first of all, when I read out the measurements to you, they're always going to be width by length, okay? That's the order that I'll read the measurements in, just so we don't get confused through the process. Always width by length. So that's number one. The second thing is the way that I build the album is we just kind of cut and go, like we build as we go. I don't generally do all my cutting first and set it aside and then come back for it, because I just find that you get pieces mixed up and it's just so much easier to leave your project and come back to it if you kind of do it in this consecutive order, build consecutively as you go. So that's just a little bit about my approach and how I do my tutorial. So I hope you enjoy that. But without further ado, let's start cutting, and we'll start with cutting the chipboard. So what you're going to need for the chipboard are basically 2 pieces for the front and the back and a piece for the spine. So first of all, let's cut our 2 pieces. So you're going to need 2 pieces that measure 4 inches wide by 5 inches long, because this is a 4x5 album. So I have my guillotine out just because when I've used my regular blade, and you can, if you don't have the guillotine, just use the regular blade, but it does make the blade work a little hard cutting through chipboard, so I just find that helps me to kind of preserve my chipboard. Now, like I said, I need to measure 2 pieces that are 4x5, but I can see that this piece is a little wider, longer than 5, so I'm going to cut it down to 5 inches first. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make sure that I have like sort of consistent length across. So 4x5, but I'm measuring and cutting this down to 5 to start with, just so I have a nice 5-inch piece, 5-inch length. So now I can cut them at 4 inches wide, and I need 2 of those. So here's my first 4x5 piece and my second 4x5 here. And there we go. Okay, so I've got my 2 pieces perfectly sized. I'm going to also need a spine. And so since, let's see if I can use this piece. My spine is going to be 1 inch wide by 5 inches long. So my leftover I'm very lucky today, as luck would have it, is actually 1 inch wide. So anyways, go ahead and cut a piece that is 1 inch by 5, and that will be your spine. You know what, guys? I'm going to cut a fresh one, only because this one's a little bit off. I guess the edge was crooked. So I do have this remaining piece. I'm just going to cut it from here, I think. Yeah, that looks good. So we'll do that down to 5. Yeah, that last piece was a little bit uneven. So it was a little bit skinnier on the bottom and the top, which we don't want. So there's my spine. Okay, so if you're using this big blade, you can put it away. We're not cutting any more chipboard. We'll just put that to the side, get rid of our chipboard here. And so first thing I want to do is actually cover the spine. So this is easy. You're going to get your colored cardstock or whatever you're using to cover your album with, okay? Whatever your album cover is going to be. So I'm using this green paper here, okay? And I'm going to need to cut enough pieces to cover the spine and the front and back with 1 inch all around. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 6 by 7 for covering the front and back covers. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut those down. So I need a 6 inch. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I don't want to waste paper, so actually you can cut these down to 6 by 6. Okay, the reason I had it at 6 by 7 is that would have given me 1 inch all around. But trust me, this is enough to wrap around, so you don't have to waste paper. So you can do them at 6 by 6. If you want 1 inch all around, then by all means cut this at a 6 by 7, and then you'll have like your 1 inch at the top and 1 inch around the bottom. But you definitely can get away with doing these at 6 by 6. So cut 2 6 by 6 pieces to save yourself a little bit of paper. And then cut yourself a 3 by 6 piece, so 3 inches wide. By 6 inches long. There we go. That's already, and that is going to be to cover our spine. So we can set those to the side, and now we'll start to put the spine together. Okay, so let's cover the spine and make the base of the album. So this is super easy. So I'm going to do one, and then you can repeat it on the other one on your own, and I'll just, when you come back, we'll continue with the spine and putting it all together. So what you want to do is get your double-sided tape. And I like to put down a few strips, but definitely right at the edge, you're going to want one on each edge here. Okay. And in this case, I'm going to do one in the middle. And just for good measure, I'm going to put down a bit of glue in the center. Okay. So peel off your double-sided tape. Okay, 2, 3, and so this, what I'm showing you, this binding and putting together the album cover, you can make this any size. I love this method, and it's so easy to do, works really well. Okay, so take your chipboard and center it onto your piece of plain or whatever you're using to cover your album with, like that. Okay, so I've got 1 inch on either side, and I've got about a 1/2 inch top and bottom here. Okay, right, now what I want you to do is get your scoring knife and score right along these edges, because you want to fold the paper over and you don't want it to crack. So I find it's much easier if you score the paper like this before you try to fold it. Okay, and then I just kind of fold into it, fold over each of the edges. Check that whether your paper is cracking, and if you know it's cracking, you may want to switch to a thinner paper. This is just regular weight cardstock, so I'm just folding over all the edges here. Okay, now I want to show you something, what happens when you use glue. You can actually see it through here, the squiggly lines. I don't know if that's showing up. There you go. And so don't worry because you're going to cover it up. But if you really hate that, and some people do, you can brush the glue on to not get that effect. I didn't do it because I'm covering this and we will never see it. Or you can just simply just use the score tape on the whole thing. Okay, so now that we've folded that over, you're just going to get your scissors and cut the corners off so we don't have bulk. So I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to draw it on so you can see where I'm going with this. So you're not going to cut right down to here, right to the edge, because then you'll expose, when you fold the sides over, you'll end up exposing the chipboard. So you want to be like a little bit away from it, but essentially you're just looking to do something like that. Okay, so let me do one and show you. So we're just going to cut like that. So you can see how I'm not right at the edge. So when I fold this over, it'll cover up the whole corner quite nicely. Okay. So I'm going to do that on each side. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Sort of this swooped shape is what I'm going for. You can measure it if you like. I like to make lots of things. So if I start getting crazy and measuring everything and it becomes too much work, then I kind of like lose interest. So, okay. Now you're going to go back in, either glue or double-sided tape. I'm going to use double-sided tape here and just get double-sided tape down on each of these flaps. Okay, this is a little bit wide, the tape I'm using, so you can see it's sticking up, but it's okay because that's all going to get covered anyway. And I'm going to stick more patterned paper on top. So, but you can switch to a thinner double-sided tape here if you like. Okay, so now I've got all my edges taped down, so I can just pull this off. And I'm going to start folding in these smaller pieces first. And I want to make sure I've got this nice straight line here. Nice straight edge folded down like that. I'm going to do the top and the bottom. Oops. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, these little nails. Okay, I'm going to fold down the bottom and I'm just going to go along that edge, make sure it's nice and flat and smooth. And then we're going to fold these sides down. That one. And this is all going to get covered, okay? So don't worry about it. Don't get excited. Okay? So this is what, when you're done, this is what it should look like. Okay? So you're going to do that, exactly what we just did with this second piece, okay? So cover this piece up. And you can pause the video while we do that. And when we come back, I'm going to show you what to do with the spine. Don't work ahead and cover the spine the same way because the spine is going to be a little bit different, okay? So you can pause here and when we come back, you'll have this side covered and we'll work on the spine. So now you should have both of your front and back covers covered up like this. So set those to the side and let's work on the spine. So the spine is pretty easy. It's just a little bit different. And we're going to go ahead and put down our double-sided tape. 2 strips should cover the whole thing if you're using 1/2-inch tape like me. Okay. There we go. So again, take this, and I've got a bit of texture on mine, so I want to make sure that's on the outside. So take your spine and center it down on to this piece, like so. Okay. All right. Now, this is a little different. So go in with your scoring knife again and just score gently, and you might just even flip it over. That seems to work really well. It's just kind of score it gently here, flipped over. Okay, and then I score it again just for good measure. okay? Because you want this to have some movement. Okay, so what you're going to do is just grab your ruler and just draw a line straight across, because we're going to cut these pieces off. Okay, there, and then on the bottom, just mark out, and all you're doing is marking out where you're going to cut. Okay, so I'm going to cut these corners off. So I'm going straight here. Like that. Like that. Because I just want this piece to come down. Okay, and I need these to attach to the spine. So let's do that with the other side. Okay, so I'm just going to get some glue and fold these down. I'm just folding these little flaps down. Okay. And now you should end up with this, where you've got one side covered completely, and then the inside looks like this. And so here's how this goes together. We're actually going to attach the spine to the front cover using this piece. Okay. And then all this will get covered up, so don't worry. But what I'm doing is I'm going to fold this over for a second and just burnish it down so I can see where to line this up. So I'm lining it up right there. I'm going to put my double-sided tape on here, and then we're going to stick this down. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's go ahead and get our double-sided tape on here. I'll just do one side at a time so you guys can see what I'm doing. Uh-oh, oh dear. Okay, sometimes these things happen. That's okay. I'm going to cover that up with patterned paper, so all is not lost. Actually, that's enough. And I'm going to do it on the other side too. I don't need it all along this piece because it's going to get covered up with more paper, and I just want to maybe reduce the bulk a little bit. So important that you get it close to the edge of the spine over here. The outside, not so much. Okay, so I'm going to peel this off. Okay, I'm just going to line this up here right next to the front cover, and then make sure it's lined up, because once it's on, you're done. And just stick that down. Okay, so you end up with this really tidy little edge. And one thing I want to tell you is I don't like to do this for bigger albums because I'm worried that they will kind of over time, like this isn't as sturdy as different kind of bindings where you wrap the whole cover. But for these little cute little tiny albums or something that's lighter, it's perfect, and it looks very nice and tidy on the outside once you're done. So there you go. We have now completed the front and back cover, like the outside of the album. So we can move on to covering this part up. Okay, so next I want to cover up all of this mess in here. So as you can see, I made a mistake, and I'm showing you that even if you have to rip things apart, all will be fine. So I'm leaving this. What did I do is I ended up just thinking that I was going to cover this whole thing with the green paper. And when you do that and you fold it up, it buckles. So you really can only cover the spine and then cover these with single sheets versus having this whole thing trying to cover up this whole entire section. So What you're going to do is get a piece of matching cardstock and measure it at 3 inches wide by 4 3/4. Okay, so 3 by 4 3/4. And what we're going to do is get our double-sided tape down on the back of this. Okay, and just go ahead and peel that off. And you're going to just simply cover up the spine and those flaps that went over it, just so that when you put down your patterned paper, it just looks nice. You don't see all of this. You won't see any cardboard. So you're going to get your scoring knife and just score gently while you attach this. Same here, because you just want that to fold. Yeah, that's much better than what I had done before, which I'm not going to show you guys, but I'm telling you, you can see the evidence of that little experiment. Okay, so there you go. So that's covered up. And so you have your nice, tidy little album. So cute. Okay, and now we can start to work on the spine piece to which we'll attach our pages. So let's just set this aside over here.
Okay guys, so let's keep working through. I added a little piece of patterned paper here so you can see how we're going to cover these sides, but we're going to work on the binding piece now. And the binding is really, really simple. Hang on, I need a sip of coffee, guys. It's early in the morning. I'm trying not to make too much noise because people are sleeping, but whatever, one must scrap when one must scrap, right? So, okay, let's do the spine, the binding rather. So for the binding, really easy. You're going to cut a piece that is 2.5 inches wide. Okay. Oh, let me make sure. Let me make sure I'm not messing this up. Yes, okay. 2.5 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. So this piece is already 4 1/4. So 2.5 by 4 1/4. Okay, so cut that and then grab your scoreboard. And you're going to simply, very simply score this at every 1/4 inch across. Can you guys see this? Yes, okay. Every 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start at 1/4, then at half, 3/4, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, and 2 1/4. Okay, don't press too hard. I don't know what this cardstock is. It's from a pad that I got at Michael's, so it's not as thick as I'm used to working with. So of course, whatever, fingers of fury here. I literally ripped through some of it already. So just, anyways, make note of the thickness of your cardstock and just be gentle, I guess. So now what am I doing? I'm scoring, and I'm going to make, it's easier if I just do this once and then show you what's happening. Okay, I'm making, so this piece will sit flat, and then these little V pieces are going to be where I attach my pages to. And this is going to be 3 pages. So I'm going to have 3 of these little V sections, and then I'm going to have alternating just a flat section. Okay, so you're going to fold towards you the first score line, you'll fold up. Okay, then the next one you'll fold back, and then you'll fold up again, and anyways, it's super hard to describe in words, but you'll see this. This is what you should have after your first 3 folds, okay? Now this section is going to sit flat on the spine, so I want to fold this way and create my next little, okay, I'm going to create my next little V by folding this one down. Sometimes it's easier if you glue these as you go. I'll show you what I mean. So let's do that, because so I did the first piece, I just folded down, and then I made this little V, and I want to glue this V together, okay? Because that's going to be what I attach the page to. So we can go ahead and glue that here. So I'm putting glue not on the first section, but on the second section here. Right, and I'm going to glue that together. You can use double-sided tape for this too, whatever you like. This way you can start to see what I'm doing. And maybe you're familiar with this type of binding and I'm just fussing over the details for nothing, but anyway, I'm sure there's going to be somebody who's doing this for the first time. Okay, so you see what I've done. I've glued the 2 together. Now this sits flat, this sits flat, and I need my next little V piece to glue together. So that's here. So I'm just going to fold along the score line and fold back. Okay, and you see what we're doing. Now I've got my second little V, and I'm going to glue that together, and the second page will attach to that. Okay, and so we're going to keep folding in this manner until we're done. And we're going to have 3 little sticking up sections that started by looking like that V that our pages will attach to. Okay, hang on, I'm going to hold this up for you so you can see what's happening here. Okay, so it should look like that. Right, and now these 2 little V's, I'm going to glue them together in the center. So just get some glue here so that they make this little flap that sticks up just like the first one. Okay, so there's the second one. And now I'm going to do my last little V. So you'll see the V's are in between the 2 flat pieces. So your binding should start and end with a flat piece. Okay, that's it. There is my binding. So, and that will flip back and forth. So you might want to just go in with your score knife and just score them back and forth a little. But that's essentially the binding for 3 pages. And that fits very lovely right in the center of my spine, like so. Okay, so I'm going to stick this on with double-sided tape. So go ahead and get your tape out. Okay, and you can use glue as well. This is such an easy binding. It's one of my favorite binding systems. I don't know what it's called. I think it has a name, but anyway. Okay, so there's my glue. I'm going to now make sure these are standing up here. I'm going to center this on my spine, top and bottom. It's the same width as the spine, so you don't have to worry about that. Just line it up to an edge and then kind of eyeball where is the center. And we glue that on. There we go. Ta-da! There's the spine. Okay, now we can move on to cutting the pages for the center. So these pages are going to be pocket pages with a flap. So the way we're cutting these, each of these will hold what will look like a single page and a pocket page. So you'll end up with 6 pages in total. So get your cardstock out and your blade back. Okay, and you're gonna cut 3 of these. Okay, so you'll need 2 12 by 12 pieces of cardstock for this part, but you're gonna cut 3 pieces, okay? And they're gonna measure an 11 1/4 wide by 4 3/4. So let me do my 11 1/4. Okay, and then 4 3/4. So there's 1, 2, and you guys cut 1 more. I haven't cut prior. I have a piece over here that I already cut that I want to show you later. So do 3 of these, 11 1/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, and once you're done with that, grab your scoreboard again, and you're going to score these in 2 places. Okay, so put your 11 1/4 inch side along the top and score these at 3 3/4 and 7 1/2. So we're just dividing it into 3 chunks. Okay, 3 3/4 and 7 1/2. So these should all be 3 3/4 wide. Yes, I double check because literally sometimes I mess up with my measurements. Yes, so 3 3/4. We'll just do this one again together, and 7 1/2. Okay, so do that to your third one as well. Okay, so now you have your 3 inner pages cut and scored, and I want to show you what we're working towards. So we're going to fold it up so that the bottom is open. This is the piece that's going to attach into our book. This is how we're going to glue this into the book. And then we'll be able to have a little pocket in the top to put things into, and the front flap opens up, okay? So that's what we are doing. So let's go with the, let's do one of these together, and then you can do the other one on your own. So you're gonna simply fold this up. Okay, so we folded one piece up this way, and then flip it over, and the other piece this way. Okay, so this is what I end up with. All right. Okay, so this will be my front page. This will be the second page. And this is, like I said, it's going to be a pocket page. So I want to glue the bottom shut because it's only the top is opening. So let's get glue along the bottom. Okay, that's the back. So if you hold it open like this, you're putting glue on this side. Okay, and just fold that down so you closed up the pocket, but it's still open here because this is where we're attaching it to the book. Okay, so let's now go ahead and attach it to our book. And for this, you can use double-sided tape or glue. I'm going to use glue just because I want to be quick while I'm showing you the tutorial, but if you like to use tape, you can go ahead and do that. So let's start with the first page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on both sides of my binding, of my spine, my binding, oh my gosh, my binding, okay, like that. And then I'm going to simply take my card and center it over the top. Now I want to center it along the spine because this is a page, the page is about the same size as the inner cover. Okay. So I've centered it. It's about 1/4 inch from the top and the bottom. And I'm just going to press that down. Okay, make sure that we've got no glue sticking out. Everything's nice and aligned. And there you go. Your first page is in. So what you can do just up here in the corner, because I only put glue on this strip, so I might want to just put just a little dot of glue in here just to keep the pocket, that side of the pocket shut. Okay, but there's page 1. Those 2 pages. And then so you have this cute little pocket on the second page that you are going to be able to slide things into and have some storage. Okay, so let's repeat that with page 2. and then I'll let you guys do page 3 on your own. So we're going to first fold in, and then fold the other side in. Okay, and so this is how I want it to open up in the book. So this is the front. I'm going to glue the bottom of this together. Okay, again, just so you can see where I'm putting the glue. Okay, and now I'm going to put some glue on my binding on both sides. And we're going to slide this on top like we just did. Centered. Make sure it's lined up with the page before. You don't want everything looking wonky. So everything's nicely lined up, and we can just burnish that down. There's page 2. I'm going to just pry this open and put a little dot of glue up there. Okay. And so far, this is how it's looking. And you guys can go ahead and do the third page. Insert your third page in the same way. And then we'll come back and I'm going to go over some of the decoration, because guess what? We're actually finished building the base of the album. Okay, so let's go through a couple of decorating tips. So first thing is I'm adding pockets to the front and back of this book. So I just want to go over the measurements for the pocket with you. So let's, first of all, let's cover up the front here, similar to how we did the back. So for the front, I'm just going to use a plain cardstock. And because I like a 1/4 inch around, I'm cutting this, sorry, that's not even a 1/4 inch. That's an 1/8 of an inch. I like the 1/8 of an inch trim around. So I'm cutting this at a 1/4 inch less than the front cover, right? So that will give me the trim. So this will be 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, so let's cut that first. And stick it down. Okay, so I'm just going to glue this down to the front here, and then we'll do the pocket. And for these little tiny albums, I love to add little pockets here and there, because it just gives you more options and space for tucking in little notes and extra photos, etc. Okay, so just stick that down. Okay. So here's a pocket that I've already completed, and you can see I made it. I didn't just do a flat strip and glue it down. You can do that, but then all you're going to be able to fit in there is one card. And if you do it like this, you have a little bit more room. So I'm going to stick this. I'm going to stick this down here, and then we're going to do a plain one for the back, just because you can probably see my cutting and scoring better on a plain piece. But while I'm here, let's just stick this down to the front. Put a little pocket in, and there you go. This can hold a couple of, it's pretty loose with just one, so you can get a few things in there, for example. But let's cut a piece for the back pocket. So for the pocket, you're going to need a piece that is 4 1/4 inches wide by 2 inches tall. Okay, so let me just cut this to 4 1/4 and at 2. Okay, and now grab your scoreboard. And you're going to score this on 3 sides at 1/4 inch. So on the 2 short sides at 1/4 of an inch. And then on, sorry, one of the long sides at also at 1/4 of an inch. Oh, I'm not even on camera. Here we go. So there you go. I scored this at 1/4 of an inch on 3 sides. And then I'm going to cut diagonally across the corners here, so that when I fold these in, I don't have a bunch of bulk. So you can see that, how that makes a nice tidy corner. So where do you want to cut in case you haven't done this before? You want to cut just where these two lines cross, right across there. And I just go slightly kind of below the corner, just so I don't end up with an exposed corner when I fold. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And then we're just going to go in and make sure these are nice and flat. And that's it. You've made a pocket. And now we can glue this in right here. And if you, want to change things up, you can make a pocket on the side. I like to do it on the bottom for these little albums, because then if I have something taller and it's sticking out from the top, that's okay. And I kind of like that look. It makes it look a little, I don't know. I just like what it looks like when little things are sticking out from the top. But there you go. There's another pocket. So let's just pretend we're going to put these here. So that's how that works. So that's the first sort of little design tip I have for you. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is a shaker that I'm going to make for the front cover. And so I'm using this round sticker. You don't need to use a sticker in the background. You can just use a plain cardstock. But I cut out an acetate circle and a frame for on top, and this will be my shaker, which will end up on the front of this card. So first thing I do is I'm going to pop, I'm probably going to pop this shaker, but at any rate, I need to work with it and have it be not sticky. So what I'm going to do is just get some powder. There's an actual tool. I don't know what it's called. I think Memory Makers makes it, and it's got powder in it. And I have it somewhere, but it kind of wore out. The brush part of it wore out. So I can tell you that since I've had to kind of come up with this impromptu method, there's no need to go buy that tool. You could just put some baby powder or cornstarch into a container, like I did, and just rub it on the back and you're good to go. So I just did that because I need to work with this and I can't have it sticking to the surface. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to cover up. I'm going to put my frame around the acetate piece. So I kind of like the orange side. Let me see. Orange or green. Let's see how it's going to look. I think the green, just for some contrast. Okay, so let me get some glue around the frame. If you've never done a shaker before, they're pretty easy. You just, the thing that I use that I find indispensable for making shakers is foam tape that is of the right size. So in this case, I have some really skinny foam tape to put around here. So I'll grab that and show you. But first thing, we want to stick the acetate down. And sometimes you just have to hold it for a second because it's kind of a funny, it can be a funny medium. It doesn't like to stick. But if you just kind of hold it down, you should be getting your stick on there. Okay. And I'm going to use some of these purple sparklies in there, but we don't need to put that on just yet. Okay, so let's continue. Let me see if I can get some better lighting over here. Okay, let's continue with the decoration and the shaker box that I was talking about. So I went to grab my foam tape, and these are little skinny strips. So that's what I like to use to put on the shaker card. So I've done that already, and that's just going around the edge. We're just going to peel that off. There we go. Okay, and I like to add a little bit of glue just for good measure here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next, once you have this piece ready with your acetate and everything is stuck to it, you can, a couple ways to do this. I just like to kind of put my little bits in the center here. There we go. That way when I put my, I don't like these big ones, I'm going to take them out. There we go. I'm going to just leave a couple in. Okay, so and now I'm going to be able to put this cover on top so I can see where I'm placing the top part of the shaker box. So you just go ahead and stick that down. Just get rid of that. Okay. And there is the shaker for the front, and that is so cute. That's so fun. So that'll be right on top of my book, right on the front. And I'm not going to stick it down just yet because I might want to do something else on here. But I just wanted to show you that little piece of kind of like a little design tip on a little mini book or even on a big one. It's just fun to have sort of an interactive element on the front. Okay, one more thing I want to show you, and then I'm going to finish covering up the rest of the pages and come back and show you the final decorated product. And I'm not going to do anything too crazy. I'm just going to cover them up in patterned paper. But I did want to show you one thing. So this is just on the last page here. I already decorated this. So I've got my pocket up at the top, which I'm going to be able to put tags and things into like that. And then on this page what I did is I glued down this little, I fussy cut this little shape out, and then I only glued it down on these two sides so that I can tuck a photo or a journal card or anything in there that I like. So I just wanted to share that with you so you could take a look while you're decorating and kind of figure out different ways that you can add spaces and places to hold your photos without needing to glue them down if you want to just have something loose. So you can do that on any of these pages, but I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so I am going to go and finish decorating this, and when I come back, we will do the final walkthrough. Okay guys, so here is the final finished little album. I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough. I do a bit more detail in the walkthrough video, but you guys have kind of been with me on this journey making this, so I keep this one a little bit shorter. So, you know, we did the shaker on the front, and I just did some additional decor here. I added some stuff here behind the pocket. This is just a sticker. And then in each of the pockets, I put one of these tags with the ribbon attached to it. So this is a little addition I did with a little belly band, so you can tuck photos in there. This was just a little note card to write some things on. And I did a lot of these where you're just kind of tuck that in, tuck in photos or journaling. So this is a really quick little album, as you can see. It has lots of space for photos and journaling, but it's tiny. It's just a little 4x5 album, and this is going to be for my niece for Halloween, full of pictures of her trick-or-treating and all that kind of good stuff. And I hope she loves it. I hope you guys loved it too. And if you like my videos, please like and subscribe. I love doing these, and I'll continue doing them, but it really motivates me to see those likes and any comments. And if you have any suggestions for me, please also leave them below in the comments. I read all of them, and I'm so happy to get them from you. So anyways, hope you guys had a good time, and have a nice day or a nice evening, and we will see you soon. Bye.